Welcome to my workshop. This is on the warrior poses, also known as Virabhadrasana 1, 2, and 3. In this session, we're going to explore the origins, the symbolism, alignment, and the mind-body uh, benefits of these powerful poses. But first, I'd like to begin with some history and mythology regarding Virabhadrasana 1, 2, and 3. These are warrior poses that are inspired by Virabhadra, and he was a fierce warrior created by Lord Shiva's wrath. But let's first start with the terms. So the Sanskrit words are Vira, which means warrior, and Bhadra, which translates to friend or auspicious. So Virabhadra can be interpreted as warrior friend. Asana is the Sanskrit word for pose. So putting Virabhadra asana, you get warrior pose, which is the implication of embodying the qualities of a strong and valiant lawyer or warrior. Strong and valiant warrior. um, in Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva created Virabhadra, who's a fierce warrior, as a manifestation of his intense anger and grief over the tragic death of his wife Sati. Sati is the daughter of a god, not a god, a holy manifestation, I would say, Daksha Prajapati. There was a lot of animosity and disagreements between Lord Shiva and Daksha Prajapati. And there was a ceremony that was going to happen, a auspicious ceremony or a yagna. And Daksha had intentionally not invited Lord Shiva to the ceremony, and Lord Shiva had warned Sati not to go because he was insulted. And Sati decided she wanted to go to confront her father, but in doing so, she ended up being humiliated and insulted by him, and ultimately, it created this overwhelming sorrow and anger within her, and the despair was so heavy for her that she ended up immolating herself in the sacrificial fire or sacrificing herself. And word spread about her death, and upon hearing of Sati's death, Lord Shiva was consumed with immense grief and furious anger. And out of his fury, he tore a lock of his hair and threw it on the ground, giving rise to Virabhadra, the powerful and formidable warrior. The warrior was to demonstrate Lord Shiva's destructive power and to seek retribution for what happened to Sati. So Lord Shiva instructed Virabhadra to disrupt the ceremony, wreak havoc, and confront Daksha for causing Sati's suffering and death. When Virabhadra stormed the yagna, he caused immense chaos and destruction, and he eventually beheaded Daksha as to show like the consequences of his arrogance. Eventually, other gods intervened as well as Lord Shiva, and Daksha's life was restored, but his head was then replaced with that of a goat. And Lord Shiva, still consumed by sorrow, carried Sati's lifeless body and away and wandered around in mourning. But the story of Virabhadra is less about mourning and more as a representation of the consequences of ego, anger, arrogance, as well as the cyclical nature of destruction and renewal within the Hindu pantheon, which is, death and death, or birth, death, and rebirth. The warrior poses or warrior asanas in yoga are named after Virabhadra to symbolize strength, courage, and determination that a warrior embodies, and in practice, it promotes balance, mindfulness, and inner strength. So there are 3 variations of the Virabhadrasana. There's 1, 2, and 3. And it's said that the first pose is to represent Virabhadra's strength as well as his mission. And then Virabhadrasana 2 is him readying himself for the confrontation. And then Virabhadrasana 3 is his him carrying out, accomplishing, winning the fight, winning the battle, being a valiant warrior, the end result of that. So that's why there's Virabhadrasana 1, 2, and 3. It's supposed to show the stages from beginning to end when he carried out Shiva's retribution. Sorry, my ears are a little bit stuffed up. So now we're going to get into Virabhadrasana 1, which you begin in mountain pose Tadasana at the top of your mat. Stand strong, stand tall, engage your core, arms to the side. Then you will step your foot back, step your left foot back, toes angled out, a 45-degree angle. And make sure your heels are lined up with each other. Then you will bend your right knee or your forward knee into a lunge. Do not exceed over your toes. You turn your torso forward, open your chest up and your heart up. Raise your arms up to either side of your head with your palms facing each other. Some people leave their palms apart. Some people put their hands together in prayers. Some people lock. But you can do either of those. And then you hold this. What this does is it engages your quadriceps, your glutes, your hip flexors, your calves, your core, and your shoulders. A modification would be doing a higher lunge. So that would be bringing your back foot inward maybe. So your stance is not as wide. You can also use the wall for support or stability. And then to get out of the pose, you straighten your front leg and bring your left foot forward to meet your right foot in Tadasana, mountain pose. So Virabhadrasana 2 is a little bit more challenging and engages a little bit more of your muscles in a various way. So you'll start from Virabhadrasana 1, step back, align your feet, but this time your back foot will be at a 90-degree angle. So instead of being 45 degrees, you turn it 90 degrees, facing towards the wall or just directly out to the side if you make it easier to understand. So this time, instead of rotating your torso forward, you keep your torso out or in alignment with your hips. Bend your knee. Your arms will go out to the side. Your fingers forward, outright, and you will change your head to be in line with your fingertips. And this is where to Virabhadrasana 2. As you gaze over your right fingertips, you'll notice your quadriceps, adductors, glutes, hamstrings, hip adductors, core, and shoulders will be engaged. So a variation for this would be to rest your hand on your back leg, or you can rest your hand on your hip. You can also Put yourself back in a higher lunge if need be. And you can also use the wall or chair for stability. And to get out of the move, again, you just turn your torso, straighten your front foot, front leg, bring your feet together, and into Tadasana, mountain pose. So now we will dive into Virabhadrasana 3, which is a little more challenging, but it's the triumphant warrior. So you do just like the others, begin in Virabhadrasana 1, except this time you're going to shift your weight onto your right foot and you hinge forward on your hips, extending your left leg back. And as you do, you simultaneously reach your arms forward with your palms facing each other. And then you engage your core for balance. And this will work your glutes, hamstrings, quadriceps, core, spinal erectors, because it's a little more challenging, and because you're bending forward, it affects your back, the alignment of your back, shoulder, and your shoulders. So go back, rotate forward, put your weight on your right foot, plant it, reach up, bring your arms forward, simultaneously bring your leg back. Virabhadrasana 3. So this is more of a balancing pose. And this will engage your glutes, hamstrings, quadriceps, core, spinal erectors, and shoulders. And if you had a block, you could use a block to help with your balance, but I forgot my block. You could also use a chair. There's actually a chair in front of me that you can't see, but I have a different chair right here. And so I'll demonstrate. It's more ideal to use a higher chair because you don't want to put too much weight on your hips, especially if you have tight hips like I do. So a higher chair is actually more ideal. You can also use the wall if you don't have a chair. So like so, or like so. It's definitely a challenging pose for me. I don't have very good balance, but as we practice and we do our 5 Ujjayi breaths, and we continue to work through these poses, we will get better at it, have more strength, and a stronger foundation as we practice them. Your mind-body connection of the Virabhadrasanas 1, 2, and 3, it teaches us resilience, courage, and focus. As we hold these postures, we can embody the qualities of being a warrior, cultivate our inner strength and determination. And as we study our breath during the challenges of these poses, it will nurture mindfulness and deepen the connection between our body and mind, because you become more aware of what you're engaging in. By embodying the spirit of Virabhadra through these poses, we cultivate strength and honor the legacy of the ancient warrior. And we also honor our bodies and our minds. The asanas remind us to stand tall, to face challenges, and to find the warrior within ourselves. Thank you for joining my workshop. May you carry the strength of Virabhadra in your daily practice and life. Namaste.